talking to God. In podcast number 8, we discussed the importance of persistent and consistency in your efforts to achieve success in your chosen field of work. Now in this episode, we will discuss what to do when you are encountering problems, obstacles, and setbacks in your work life while working toward the success you seek. Problems are bound to occur, but there are methods and there are strategies for dealing with them. Now, these strategies and these methods involve talking to God, and they can be applied for two very powerful areas of your life, your work and your personal life. God wants things to go very well for you. Romans 8:28 states clearly that God works for your good. However, when things aren't running as smoothly as you like, it's up to you to creatively fix it while consulting God for advice. Don't expect God to intervene in your life. However, you can ask God for advice and suggestions and then implement them to solve any major problems that you encounter. Now, how do you talk to God? Is this really possible, you ask? It may come as a surprise to many people, but talking to God is possible. It's just not what most people expect it to be. Most people, you see, have a preconceived notion that talking to God, kind of involves like having a conversation with Him like you would have with another human being. However, God is not what many people picture God to be. Remember, as we discussed in episode 1, the important 10 commandment that says, thou shalt not make any image of God. God doesn't fit into any image, figure, or mold of what we as humans picture God to be. Talking to God does not involve speaking directly with Him and then having Him speak back with a booming voice. It's much more subtle, but it's still very real, and you won't have any doubt in your mind that you spoke with God. Now the question remains, why are more people then not speaking to God if it can be done? Hosea 4:6 of the Young's Literal Translation explains, "Cut off have been my people for lack of knowledge." My people refers specifically to people that really believe in God. You see, people that believe in God lack the knowledge of how to speak to God and hear back from God. Most prayer is kind of a one-sided conversation with persons simply saying, God, give me this. They ask for things. People don't speak and receive word back from God because they lack the knowledge. Worse yet, people don't even bother consulting God and remain silent. Hosea 4:6 of the Douay-Rheims Bible says, my people have been silent because they had no knowledge. Job 33:14 of the CEV says, God speaks in different ways, and we don't always recognize His voice. Now that same verse of the NIV says, for God does speak, though no one perceives it. The key to hearing God is being able to perceive it. To perceive God, we need to use very different senses that we are used to using. Our ears and our eyes are not the methods of communication that we are meant to use with God. God is a higher state of being than we currently are. As 1 John 1:5 says, God is light. God is not currently in a physical body. We must use our higher senses to communicate directly with God. To do this takes knowledge and a new understanding of the nature of consciousness. You see, you need to understand that human consciousness is composed of 3 levels of awareness: the conscious mind, the unconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. At one time, aspects of consciousness were viewed with a skepticism by many scientists, but most people nowadays are aware of what the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, and that they are different. The conscious mind consists of an awareness of the world around you and what you are currently thinking about or feeling. It's the ability to experience or to feel and make conscious decisions. Obviously very important. The unconscious mind consists of the processes in the mind which occur automatically. Hours a day of practice makes something automatic and far less mentally taxing. For example, driving a car or riding a bike is challenging when first tried, but once practiced and learned, it becomes easier and, of course, more automatic. The media and the people around us can in many ways bypass the conscious mind that is in charge of a smart decision making and reach the non-conscious mind to influence decisions and choices. Indeed, advertisers have learned how to control our unconscious mind for centuries. Yes. The superconscious mind is the aspect of consciousness that can communicate with God. It's the part of us that's linked directly with God and therefore knows everything. It works our greatest good, and it is able to help us when we encounter problems. The superconscious holds our greatest potential, and it is the region from which we receive all our answers and how we actually communicate with God. Now, there are many religious people who claim they talk with God and know what God's will is. But these people are giving religion and God a bad reputation. If what people do or say is not in line with the wisdom written in sacred and ancient texts, then these people are essentially doing things their own way and not God's way. Preaching loudly on the street about God is also not God's will. The Bible states the very opposite. Thessalonians 4:11 says that we are to lead quiet lives, work and mind our own business. Thessalonians 4:11-12 of the NIV states, make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. You should mind your own business and work with your hands so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, so that you will not be dependent on anybody. Is your life winning the respect of people? Are you successful in your chosen field of work? Are you leading a quiet life that centers on work and are minding your own business rather than trying to tell people what to do and how to act? Are you independent financially rather than dependent on others to provide your work? Are you able to solve your own problems? Or are you dependent on God and people to help you out? Matthew 8:23-25 tells us the story of the disciples on a boat with Jesus. The waves get violent and sweep over the boat, nearly drowning them all. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and they woke him up saying, "Lord, save us!" He responds, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?" Confidence is the modern day word for faith. You see, this wise story gives us the understanding that we are to be confident in solving our own problems ourselves and not be afraid to do so. Anytime people plead with God and ask God to help them, the response is, "You of little confidence, why are you so afraid?" People may even shame God and pray, "Don't you care about me, God? Help me out here. Answer my prayer. Don't expect God, or anyone for that matter, to solve your problems in your work life and in your personal life. You have the power to solve your own problems. As Luke 10:19 of the King James Bible says, "Behold, I give unto you power." In the next episode, we will discuss how to access the superconscious mind, essentially communicating with God to get advice, giving you the power to solve your own problems with confidence. So please subscribe to our podcast and to our YouTube channel.